this type of infection.
Would you mind getting inside the oven?
Hi, this is Tony Odell from Chopping Mall, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues. This is episode 315. And this time we're headed back to 1986 via 2015 with the slasher comedy The Final Girls, which is one we've been looking forward to covering. And we're joined by one of our very favourite people, Ginny Hall Cameron. So how are you doing today, Ginny?
I'm doing okay. It's raining a lot, and we're going to try to close the pool, so I don't know if we're going to be able to or not.
Yeah, well, it's actually gloriously sunny here, a bit too warm for me, but I won't complain too much in case it's raining everywhere else. And I say we don't have Erik because he is in a Portuguese prison, aka he's on his vacation, but he has sent, I'm afraid, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but he has sent a joke of the week. So if you are missing a bit of Erik, there is a little stub of Erik, and that's not the first time little stub and Erik has been talked about in the same sentence.
Yeah, just to let everyone know, Erik will be back by the time the quiz for this month airs. So that's when he'll be back. Yes,
so he's sucking a stiff one on a beach somewhere. And Joseph, how are you doing?
Well, I could use some of that rain that Jenny's getting, but other than that, actually the weather's been very pleasant. I love it. I'm doing good. Very good, Justin. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear. And Nathan, we were just talking before we came on air that you just celebrated your Sweet 16, which means boys everywhere are not safe.
That's true. They wrote a song about me.
What, Sweet Nathan?
Yeah.
Well, many happy returns, Nathan. There still always will be the baby of the show. But I mean that affectionately.
I hope I return a lot, too.
Well, we hope you do, too. So,
how old are you actually now, Nathan? 42, 43?
I'm 44, but I don't look a day over 57.
Yeah, well, old age is a bitch, which is why it's always good to look back sometimes at movies from yesteryear. It helps us look back to our youth.
And take care of yourselves, please.
Yes. And Ginny, so, you've been on the show before. Can you remind me what film we talked about last time you were on?
Maximum Overdrive. It's a real big slasher movie.
Yes. That
Erik
would have been
loved it too.
Yeah, that would have been on our Patreon feed, wouldn't it? So welcome to the main feed. And do you want to tell us about anything you've seen recently? I know you've been to some conventions, haven't you?
I've been to conventions. I went to Dragon Con recently, and I'm going to go to Days of the Dead in October. I'm not looking forward to it like I usually am because it's a big Revenge of the Nerds reunion. So I'm just like, I mean, I didn't dislike the movie, but I'm just like, whatever. I got to see Friday the 13th Part 4 recently in the theater.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
It was good, and I was the Mother of the Year. I took my 8-year-old with me. But there's more laughs than I was surprised about. Just people were just really laughing. So I was just like, oh, but I did love the Crispin dance. So that was something to look forward to.
I think that is sometimes it can be quite annoying, can't it? If you go to see a film like that and people who aren't really kind of hardcore fans or that invested in horror movies as such do treat them as comedies, even though it doesn't really warrant it. I know when we went to see The Exorcist when it was re-released in UK 20 odd years ago, and people were laughing all the way through it. It'd been parodied loads, but even so, it's not a funny film. So it's kind of, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about going to see films. I remember when I went to see the original Friday the 13th, not when it first came out, but again, about 20, 25 years ago. And I've talked about this before on the show, I'm sure, but people were laughing for about the first 20 minutes until Marcy got the axe in the face, and then everyone went quiet. So, it's kind of, I have mixed feelings about those kind of retro screenings because of that. But I hope did your 8-year-old enjoy it?
Oh, she liked it. I had her do a kill count.
Okay.
She counted 12, but she did ask after the movie what happened to Gordon and what happened to the mother. And I was like, well, I know that they had filmed scenes where they found the mother in a bathtub and she had committed suicide. And I said, otherwise, they refer to her dying, but you don't really see her dying. I don't know what happened to the mother. She might know the guy from Part 2. You don't know where he's at. I don't know. And I said, I think Gordon's fine. He went through that window really well, and I hope he landed great, and I hope he's alive.
Well, we know, obviously, the Friday the 13th series is well known for its continuity. So I'm sure there are some logical explanations.
Yes.
Yes. So, Nathan and Joseph, is Friday the 13th Part 4 playing anywhere near you?
I've never heard of it.
Have you not?
No.
Well, apparently we're covering it on the... No, we're not. We've already done... Have we? No, we are covering it on the commentary.
No, we haven't done that yet. It's this month.
Exactly. That's what I mean. We're covering it soon.
No, I mean, I love Friday the 13th Part 4. I don't love it as much as everyone else do. I mean, it's a great movie. I just love the cheesiness of Part 5. Part 4 is a pure slasher movie through and through. It is great. I'm not taking anything away from it. Yeah, I love it.
Excellent. And Nathan, would you go and see it if you got a chance?
Oh, I absolutely would. Friday the 13th is my favorite horror series, like overall. There's not one that I dislike. I like all of them. And I'm especially a huge fan of 1 through 8.
Yeah, that's the good thing about the Friday the 13th movies. Even the terrible ones like Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell, there are still things in there that are quite okay. So, I mean, that's a very consistent series.
Indeed. Excellent. And Ginny, is anything else you've seen you want to tell us about?
I saw this movie I see all the time, and I just want it to be better, and it's almost there. It's almost a slasher. It's called Getting In. And this guy wants to go to Johns Hopkins University, and he gets waitlisted. So he wants to go and pay off people to get higher up on the list. Meanwhile, Andrew McCarthy's going around killing everybody on the list. And a lot of people like to watch it because it's people before they're famous. It has Dave Chappelle, Matthew Perry, Callista Flockhart, but the movie it misses. It's, like I said, it's almost a slasher, almost a comedy. Why did I watch it again? I don't know. And also watched Out of the Dark again. It's a movie that's kind of sentimental to me because my friend Rhonda, in the beginning, she just wanted the clown guy to kill this girl so bad. Like, hurry up and kill her. So I hadn't seen Out of the Dark in a while, and I forgot that Divine was in the movie, not in drag.
That's right, yeah.
I don't know why I watched that again, but I was just having sentimental reasons about my friend Rhonda, and I was like, well, I'm going to see that again.
Why not? I haven't heard of, what was it called? Cutting In?
Getting In.
Oh, Getting In. Okay, I've not heard of that. I did see the Andrew McCarthy, the Brat Pack documentary recently, which is worth a watch. But that's it sounds intriguing, but obviously go in with slightly curtailed expectations, perhaps.
It tries, it just doesn't get there. Like, for instance, McCarthy, like I said, he goes and kills the people on the waiting list, and it was a neat little touch that people died by their last name. So the person whose last name's Burns, he tries to burn him up. Someone's last name is Watts, so they want to kill them by electricity. So I was like, okay, that's kind of neat.
So if I were in the movie, like, I would be killed by a hen's son, maybe? Like some eggs. People throw eggs at me, maybe?
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, well, it sounds intriguing, but maybe on a rainy afternoon, perhaps. So is there anything else, Ginny?
What is that movie? I never liked it. I don't know why I watched it again. Silent Madness. And it never stuck with me. So I was watching it again to see if it would. And I was just like, I did have a little small moment when this actress is rollerblading. I was like, oh, what if she, not rollerblading, roller skating. I was like, what if she used to roller skate onto the set of Pieces instead?
That would be a crossover.
A double skate murder, yeah.
I have got the, we did a commentary for that, didn't we, for Vinegar Syndrome?
For Silent Madness, yes.
Yes, and I've got the Blu-ray. I haven't watched the 3D version. I give them a meaning to, but yes, obviously I need to leave. Sometimes some of these films you can't watch them too quickly after we've done a commentary because we do so much research and everything to sort of, and the last thing you want to do is rewatch it for a while anyway. So excellent, Ginny. Well, we'll look forward to talking about the Final Girls coming up. But Nathan, have you seen anything you want to tell us about?
I watched one that you guys may not have heard of. It's called Ogroff.
Oh, yes.
I will say that I did enjoy the film. I thought the plot was very intricate. It kind of weaves in and out of, all these incredible plot points that if you aren't fully paying attention, you might actually get lost. So I would say that, you might want to pay full attention when watching Ogroff.
And Ogroff can get lost.
Anyway, I'm being sarcastic there. No, I liked it in general just because I feel it's very cheesy, but man, does the budget really work against the film? I mean, it's like the quality of the film and the sound and everything is just it's not great. But I feel like their heart was in the right place, so I give them a thumbs up.
Oh, well, it's good to hear. We thought you probably would be a champion for that movie to some degree, more than most of the rest of us. So, anything else, Nathan?
Last night, Wes and I watched the Forever Purge. It's one of those movies that if you like the other Purge movies, then you'll probably like this one. But if you don't like them, you're not going to like this one because it's basically more of the same. But I like that about the Purge movies because when I go to watch it, I know exactly what I'm in for. And, so I like movies like that, sort of like the Friday the 13th movies. Like I know what I'm in for when I watch them, except maybe Jason Goes to Hell. But I love that one anyway. It just, it was a little different. But anyway, yeah, the Forever Purge, I felt like the characters are pretty likable. It kind of, like its main theme is basically like racism. A lot of the villains are, these crazy racist people, that are killing people in this small Texas town. But yeah, overall, I think that it's a good addition. While I probably would say that part 2 is still my favorite in the series, it was still, good and worth watching if you like the other ones.
Cool. I have seen it, but as you say, they do tend to sort of blur into one. Because they're very much hit the same beats with each one. But I can remember enjoying them when I've seen them. But I couldn't tell you any. It's been a couple of years perhaps since I've seen it, so I couldn't tell anything else about it. Are you a fan of them, Ginny? I mean, they kind of fit into the slasher realm tangentially, don't they? To some degree, I guess.
I have something odd to say about it. There's a restaurant in town, and it was called the Purge Restaurant. It didn't last, but when you went in there, it had scenes from the films on the walls and stuff, and it didn't last that long, but I just thought that was odd to have a Purge restaurant.
I'd be afraid I'd get poisoned.
Well, exactly. Is that because all the waiters killed everyone when the klaxon went off?
It didn't last long, but we did have a Purge restaurant.
That is I've heard of themed restaurants before, but that is a curious one to be themed.
It didn't last long. I'd probably say maybe 3 months, but it was just a strange restaurant to have. So I never got the story on that. Like, why did this come to? But yeah, I went to a Purge restaurant. It had just average food, didn't have anything like specialty things, but it was a Purge restaurant.
Wow. And Nathan, is there anything else?
No, the other stuff I've watched is kind of just what we've already watched. I did rewatch Body Count. I really like that movie. I think it's underrated.
It's surprising that hasn't come out on Blu-ray, isn't it? I wonder what the rights hold up is with that. Because I know it's one that I see him requested quite a lot.
It's also, to me, it's got one of the best like opening murders that I've seen. Like when she's in the car and the killer's stabbing the knife through the back seat, through the front seat, and I'm like, that kind of stuff is pretty scary. Sort of like in Killer Workout, when the one girl with big hair is in the convertible and the killer's like stabbing through the top of the convertible. Like, that would be scary.
Which girl was that? Because it doesn't really narrow it down, saying the one with big hair.
Not the one with the big ass hair, because if you remember, Justin, there's one character that you, in the body count of your review, you even put girl with big hair is, throat slit. So it's not her, but it's the one with, I'd say, the second biggest hair.
I need to rewatch that. Is it that? Because did that ever get a decent release without the kind of terrible sound? Because it was plagued by like really bad sound, wasn't it?
I don't think it has. I think it's still one of those stuck on VHS titles.
Yeah, I had a feeling it did get put out on Blu-ray actually, but I think it had really bad sound for some reason. I don't know if the elements are lost.
No, it did get put out on Blu-ray, it looks like. But I don't know about the sound on it.
No, I might be wrong. So, excellent. Okay, well, thank you, Nathan. And Joseph, do you want to go next or do you want to wait for a little bit? Because I know you requested to go last.
No, I'll brush through these real quick. I've watched 3 movies actually. My better half forced me to watch the first 2 Deadpool movies because she wanted to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, and I'm not a fan of those movies, but I did like Deadpool and Wolverine. I think it was boiled down to Hugh Jackman is a really good actor, so I enjoyed it. But that's that. The movies I actually want to kind of discuss is a couple of found footage movies I caught up with. From a few years back, I watched Butterfly Kisses, which is this surprisingly layered found footage film that goes back and forth from being, very meta to being pretty creepy. And what it essentially does is jump back and forth between 3 separate connected stories until kind of, I guess, everything sort of coalesces at the end. Kind of like one of those Matryoshka dolls, like in a found footage form. It's kind of hard to explain, but I won't say anything else as it's one of those movies where the less you know, the more interesting it is. I mean, it's nothing earth-shattering, but it's a very unique spin on that particular genre. I liked it a lot, and it's currently streaming for free on Tubi if you want to check it out. Did any of you guys check that out? Jenny, have you heard of it?
I even actually have never heard of it.
Okay. Justin, Nathan?
No. Is that, when did it come out?
I think it's 2018. It's called Butterfly Kisses. It's basically about this. I mean, I don't really want to say too much because, I don't want to spoil it. It's basically about a guy who's making a documentary about these people who are making a found footage movie about an old legend. And so it's so layered. It's really interesting. It has a very anticlimactic ending, but I think that was kind of the point. But I do recommend it.
I watched it based on your recommendation. Because like you, I really do like film footage movies. Even the bad ones, I don't know. I just like the format. But yeah, with this one, one thing that I did like about it is kind of like what you said, is that when we get to the ending, it's not everything in the kitchen sink like it is with some other ones. One thing that happens to one of the characters, I won't spoil it, but it makes me cringe. So, and you know what I'm talking about, I'm sure, Joseph.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely worth a watch, if you like found footage.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's one I shall look out for. So, and you had another one, Joseph.
Yeah, and I think you both have seen this one. And Jenny, you might have seen it. It's kind of popular right now. It was called Milk and Cereal, as in serial killer. It's this hour-long YouTube found footage film that kind of went viral. And I liked it, maybe not as much as everyone else, as I thought it was one of those kind of rare found footage films that was too short. As a few of the plot threads are kind of given, I don't know, they're given like this important spotlight and then they're just dropped. It just kind of feels anticlimactic. Again, this is one of those movies that, it's best not to know too much about the plot going in, so I'm not really going to say what it's about. But it's got great performances from the 2 leads. It's put together exceptionally well for the budget and these 2 young guys who made it. And it has a very satisfying ending, even if it is a little anticlimactic. But, I think it did need another 10 minutes at least. But I did enjoy it. These 2 filmmakers have promise. I would be interested in seeing what they come up with next.
Cool. Have you seen or heard of that, Ginny?
I've never heard of it.
Okay. But it's free to stream on YouTube. It's only, about an hour long?
Yeah.
And it costs something like $500 or $1,000 to make or something?
I think it was $800. It is an hour long, an hour and 3 minutes. But from what I read, the director, who also is one of the lead guys in the movie, I think it was like an hour and 27 minutes, but he felt like some of the scenes went on too long, so he just shortened them. He said he didn't take anything out of the movie, he just shortened the scenes, but I felt like it could have been a little longer, but I still enjoyed it.
Nathan, have you seen it?
Yes, I watched it. I recognized the guys when I first started watching it because I've seen they do these like little 5-minute like comedy sketch videos, and I'd seen them around. So when Joseph recommended this and I started watching it, I recognized them, and I was like, "Is this going to be more of a comedy?" And it does have like some really dark humor, I would say, in there, but overall, I thought it was really engaging. It was really good. And I thought they handled like the horror aspects of it pretty well. Like Joseph said, I think the ending is it's very satisfying finale. And yeah, and to me, it never outstays its welcome because if anything, like Joseph also said, I feel like it's a little too short, but that's okay. I mean, I was never bored. I was very entertained throughout the whole film. And it was also one of the ones I liked in that I didn't think it was very predictable. Like when I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, I really have no idea how they're going to end this.
Well, yeah, it's weird because they give you this one huge red flag early on that something is not right, but you don't. You really think that they're going to take the film in this one direction, and you're like, okay, this is how it's going to end, and then they do that camera tilt, and I'm like, oh man, I love that. Thank you for doing that.
Yes, because I'm like, that made the film for me. Like the way they ended it. And yeah, it's only an hour. So I would say it's definitely worth checking out. So yeah, thumbs up from me.
Cool. We didn't talk about it before, did we, on the last episode, I don't think.
I don't remember, honestly.
No, I can't remember either, but I know I did see it and I enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. There was one bit in it that there was a bit of a cheat, which Stuart sort of pointed out, which is when I won't give anything away, but the scene when they're out in the desert and there's 3 characters in the scene and there's someone else holding the camera.
I'm wondering what that was. I was kind of confused. It felt like there was another character he cut out at times. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was the one. But apart from that, I mean, considering, it was very layered and it didn't go the way that I was expecting. So yeah, definitely worth watching. Say you've got nothing to lose apart from an hour of your time. It's free on YouTube at the moment, but I imagine I wouldn't be surprised if they not necessarily pull it, but they make a bigger budgeted version of it somewhere for cinema, somewhere down the line.
I think I read that the guys got offered a budget to do an actual movie, which, kudos to them. They got some talent, so let's see what they can do with a real budget.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, thank you, Joseph. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, let's go through a few things I saw. As regular listeners will know, there's obviously I live in Spain, so there's a cinema that shows one film a week in English, and this week it was Blink Twice, the Zoe Kravitz, Channing Tatum starring film, which there's some kind of synchronicity here, and to some degree, it also stars Alia Shawkat, who is also in The Final Girls. And it's one of those movies, like you mentioned about that found footage movie, Joseph. It's best if you know as little as you do going in. So the kind of basic premise, without getting anything away, is 2 women who are working as kind of waitresses at a big fundraising event come to the attention of this kind of Elon Musk style guy, I can guess. He's supposed to be this disgraced media mogul who owns the tropical islands, and he invites them to come along with some other women, his friends, for a week, and that's all you need to know really going in, because it's one of those movies, the least you know, the best, and it's kind of, I would say, it definitely tips into the horror territory certainly as it gets going. But yeah, has anyone seen that?
No, but I accidentally had that entire movie spoiled for me. I was glancing through some comments, and I shouldn't have been doing that, but someone just spoiled it outright in the first paragraph. So
that's annoying.
I'll see it, but I'm mad that I got the ending spoiled because it sounds like it was a really good twist.
Oh man, okay, then I'm not reading anything about it.
Well, I won't say any more then. So we'll wait until we've all seen that before we discuss it further. Just a couple of other quick ones. I've been one that's coming up for review on Hysteria Lives next week. Will probably be out by the time this comes out. Is the Spanish slasher movie from the year 2000, The Art of Dying, which is the art or El Art de Morir in Spanish. And it was actually, out of all the slasher movies made in Spain after Scream, and I know what you did last summer, this was by far and away the most successful one in there. Released in Spain, it's kind of a first-time watch for me, and it's kind of a bit of an atypical slasher. It has kind of elements of The Sixth Sense and kind of other supernatural shenanigans, so not exactly what you might expect a kind of a Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer kind of inspired movie. Kind of the basic premise is very I Know What You Did Last Summer. A group of students play a trick on a friend of theirs when he ends up dead, and then several years later, the police reopen the investigation, and then the friends start dying off one by one. So it's a very kind of textbook slasher movie, but it goes off in some pretty interesting different directions. So I'm not even sure if I think that did actually get an North American release back in the early 2000s, but I'm taking it that no one is not one any of you are familiar with.
No, I'm aware of it. I've never seen it, but I'm certainly aware of it. It's one of those I actually wanted to see when it came out, but I could never find it. But it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, confounds expectations to some degree, but I think it was pretty well done. It's just kind of, again, sometimes you go into something expecting a certain thing and you get something slightly different. But it kind of definitely goes into that kind of body count, one by one slasher movie mold. But it has a bit of a supernatural bent, which is something you kind of saw around that time with movies like Witchcraft and various things, didn't you? So
yeah, and I like Witchcraft. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So again, that's another. I think this one's just got a release on Blu-ray somewhere in Europe, but I know Witchcraft. It's funny. I'm going to be looking at some of these early 2000 horror movies or slasher movies, which at the time I didn't exactly dismiss, but I wasn't particularly a big fan of. The ones that kind of came after the big three, the Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Urban Legend. But I've been going back and looking at some of them again with kind of fresh eyes, and it's we're looking almost a quarter of a century back.
We are looking at a quarter of a century, really.
Which is crazy, isn't it?
You know those Scream movies and the I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, they were so good that they kind of overshadowed a lot of those movies. But going back to watch them, they're not bad. They're actually pretty decent.
Yeah, well, Witchcraft is actually, I was surprised actually how good that was, how much fun that was.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot, actually.
Yeah. And again, that's another one that's just kind of languishing in standard definition hell. It's never been released, I don't think, in high definition. So, it's going to be interesting. I mean, talking about it is coming up 25 years now for when those films are out. So, I do wonder if we're going to get people like Vinegar Syndrome and some of those boutique labels revisiting those, although I know that they're kind of keen mostly on restoring film elements. I imagine there's only so much you can do with stuff that's shot on digital. Yeah,
it seems like if Witchcraft was going to get a decent release, it would be someone like the one with Graham, one we did, Satan's Little Helper for.
Treasured Films.
Treasured Films, thank you.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But I kind of so that was that. The other one I did watch just on Shudder was Caveat by director Damien McCarthy. He's an Irish director, and I think I mentioned I'd seen Oddity, which is the one that was released this year or last year, and this was his one from 4 or 5 years ago. I would say Odyssey reminded me very much of Ty West's The Innkeepers, that whole kind of feel of kind of slow burn with some very creepy moments and sudden jolts of terror, that type of thing. So it's kind of very much slow, sort of, sudden shock. And then, which I quite enjoy. I kind of like those movies, kind of remind me of old kind of ghost stories. But, and this one it's kind of also, his films are kind of interesting because they're very kind of had this kind of fairy tale, kind of EC Comics feel to them as well. And this one has a man who's just woken up from a coma, I think, and his friend persuades him to go to this island to look after his, I think it's his niece who's on the island who has a fear of, she's basically got mental health problems. She had this fear of being alone, but she also has a fear of being touched. So he has to wear this kind of straitjacket attached to a chain, which means he can't go into her room. And he's kind of tied to a wall. I don't know why he agrees to it. He gets paid to do it. And then creepy things happen in the house. And then, of course, he can't get out because he's kind of chained to this wall or chained to this big hook in the basement. So it's not as good. It's worth a watch if you've got Shudder. It's not as good as Oddity. Oddity, I think, is better and sort of more genuinely creepy and more effective scares. But if you're a fan of those kind of movies, it's worth a look anyway. Did any of you see Oddity?
No.
No, I think Erik mentioned it last episode, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's definitely worth a look. I really enjoyed that. But anyway, okay. Well, we'll move on to the main attraction.
When Max and her friends reluctantly attend a tribute screening of an infamous 80s slasher film that starred Max's late mother, they are accidentally sucked into the silver screen. They soon realize they are trapped inside the cult classic movie and must team up with the fictional and ill-fated camp bloodbath counselors, including Max's mom as the shy scream queen, to battle the film's machete-wielding masked killer. Will the body count rising in scene after iconic scene? Who will be the final girls left standing and live to escape this film? So that's the IMDb description for the final girls. And since this was a listener pick from our great friend Jenny, I would like to let her go first and tell us, Jenny, what did you think about the final girls?
I love it. It's a good movie. I am a little sad that it's PG-13 because I am not a fan of PG-13 movies. I was expecting the worst with that rating, and I actually ended up really loving it. But it's a very endearing film, something you don't really hear a lot with slasher films, but I really liked it. And the humor in it was good to where it wasn't annoying. It worked really well. I did get kind of bored near the end, though. I ain't going to lie. All the stuff at the church, I was kind of like, all right, wrap it up. Hurry up. Y'all are kind of getting on my nerves. I love the film. It's a great movie.
Awesome. Well, for me, when I heard of the Final Girls, I was all about it because I liked the idea of being able to go into a movie and try to, stop the killing or save the characters. And I think from the perspective in the Final Girls upon rewatching it is that these characters, I mean, it's their ultimate fate. They're going to die. The ones in the film, I mean. I love the idea behind it. I love movies that have, some humor thrown in. I love a really good serious horror film, but I like the, campy, humorous ones like this a lot as well. I think that it, like Jenny was saying, it's kind of has a lot of heartfelt scenes between the main character and her mother in the movie. And it's got a fantastic soundtrack, by the way, but I'm a big fan of 80s music. So, of course, I'm going to say that. The characters are all a lot of fun. I didn't think anybody was particularly, annoying or unlikable. I mean, even the more unlikable ones are just kind of, just done out of fun overall. So, yeah. With the Final Girls, I do agree that I think that it probably would have fared better as an R-rated film since it is a tribute to slashers. And I mean, most slashers are R-rated, so it kind of would have made sense in that respect. But I mean, I can forgive it for that because I find it extremely entertaining otherwise. And it's got a lot of great scenes. So yeah, I mean, 2 thumbs up for me. It's just a good time. So something I probably couldn't get tired of. How do you feel, Justin?
Well, it's no great secret. I'm a big fan of this movie. I think it's, as Ginny said, it's it's an oddity in some ways because it's a slasher movie with a big heart, which is kind of unusual to see. I mean, especially we've talked lots about how modern, certainly after like the Hostels and the Cabin Fevers and all those kind of movies that came out sort of a few years before this, really, or kind of 10 to 5 years before this, where you had a lot of these slasher movie films like the remake of, well, not the kind of remake of Friday the 13th in 2009, where a lot of the characters are just assholes. So, and you don't really like them, and you don't really care about any of them, and the only fun is watching them die because you're not emotionally invested in any of them at all. So to actually have a film where you are kind of emotionally invested in at least half of them, and the others, there's no character in here that you dislike. So, I mean, also visually, I think it's great. I mean, the characters is really, everyone looks like they're really into the movie. They're having fun with it. The script is kind of witty. You do get some blood and gore. It's riffing off kind of 80s camp slashers. So it has an awful lot of stuff going for it. It's also kind of really well shot. It's got the kind of 80s dynamic and the whole thing at the end of the church with the neon. It's very day glow. And I just really enjoy it. I mean, if I was going to be a little bit kind of picky, there's being a bit of a slasher nerd, this idea that one of the characters says that Camp Bloodbath or whatever it's called was the granddaddy of camp slashers even though it came out in 1986. And so everyone knows, of course, goes out saying, obviously, Friday the 13th is the granddaddy of the camp slashers. So it kind of felt slightly incongruous. And also, if a film called Camp Bloodbath in 1986 would have gone straight to video, it wouldn't be, and it also wouldn't be covered in sort of 70s movie scratches. So there's a few little bits that just kind of niggle, but I can see past that completely because it is such a fun movie. So I'm really glad we've had a chance to catch this one because it's an awful lot of fun. And I kind of, coming to you, Joseph, I think, is this the first time travel? And it's kind of a time travel movie, isn't it? But I know Happy Death Day came out 2 years after this. So would you credit this as being the first of the kind of popcorn time travel slashers?
No, because there are a few, and I can't name them off the top of my head right now, but there are a few that predate this. And there's one with a very, very similar plot to The Final Girls that predates this. But I like The Final Girls a lot. And, someone in our upcoming feedback made an interesting observation, and it's one I actually agree with. This doesn't feel like a true blue slasher as such, but a young adult slasher novel brought to the screen. Something like Christopher Pike or R.L. Stine. It plays it safe with the gore and the nudity staples, but it pretty much injects everything else from the slasher film into this really fun, made-up plot with these characters going through a movie screen. And these characters are really sharp and they're very amiable. And the ones, like Nathan said, the ones that are supposed to be unlikable are fun. And, for a PG-13 movie, sure, there could have been a little more gore. But the death scenes I think they're still fun. I mean, you have Adam Devine from Workaholics getting folded in half. I mean, the killer's snapping people's necks. And I love the scene where the characters are watching a death being played out. And they're kind of making commentary from afar in the woods. I love that scene. The murders, they're still just as inventive and punchy. I think they're just a few pints low is all. But I think using the meta approach to tell something of an off-kilter story about relationship bonds is what makes this movie unusually interesting. I mean, you have the kids kind of snarking on the conventions while partaking in those conventions at the same time. Very Scream. And you also have a killer who may as well be this kind of tiki-fied version of Jason Voorhees. He's like Jason Voorhees with a tiki mask. And you also have this exceptionally layered mother-daughter dynamic with which they find, very interesting notes to contrast against the film within a film narrative. And I appreciated that a lot. I mean, yeah, really, I really don't have much bad to say about The Final Girls. It's a good movie, whether you think it's a good slasher movie or not. And I think despite the PG-13 rating, it's just a good movie. But then again, gore and nudity, while it's missing those staples, I appreciate those, but I've always been, the characters and suspense guy. Couple those with a good story and I'm happy. And The Final Girls has that in spades. I don't see personally how anyone wouldn't like this, how it wouldn't make them happy. It's the last action hero of the slasher genre, and I love last action heroes, so thumbs up for me.
Excellent. Well, I think the movie you might be thinking of is there was a movie from 2005 called Camp Days.
That's it, yes.
Yeah, which is a really kind of entertaining, much more low budget movie, which I don't think was ever released theatrically.
It never got its just due. I think it just kind of went under the radar. Yeah.
Well, it was a very similar premise. But it was set in 1981, which arguably, being the slasher nerd that I am, is the kind of apex of the camp slasher. So it kind of makes sense for it to be in 1981, and about a group of teenagers who end up trapped in a recurring night of a slasher massacre at a campsite in 1981 with counsellors. So if you get a chance, that's worth checking that out if you're a fan of this movie to see. Perhaps, arguably, who knows? There's nothing new under the sun. So I'm not saying there's any plagiarism going on, but there are some similarities there certainly.
Yeah, with the slasher film, I mean, you're going to get plagiarism left and right. It's what they do with the plagiarism that matters.
Well, this one, I think when I mean it was kind of, when I'm talking about the kind of the bigger budgeted, i.e. the ones that are theatrically released, this seemed to potentially, you're going forward, you've got the Happy Death Day movies, Totally Killer, that's that new one coming out on Netflix, isn't there, at some point, maybe on Halloween. But it's, it's kind of interesting. I mean, the other thing, I thought one of the things that's interesting is also another slight inconsistency, perhaps, is that when you have the mother saying she did the slash movie in 1986, 20 years ago, which would have put the movie at 2006 rather than. But apparently this, without getting to background too early, is this kind of the idea for this originated in 2007, which would have made more sense because that would have been more or less 20 years after 1986, obviously. So, but yeah. So, Ginny, is anything else you want to talk or mention about the Final Girls before we go on to some background?
It was just a really great love letter to slashers, and like people make comments where like the girl that was considered like sort of a bitchy girl, the ex-friend who became the friend again. I don't remember the character's name, but it's played by Nina Dobrev. She said, "It's past the halfway mark, and I'm the bad girl. I know I'm going to die soon." And things I would have done in the movie is I admit it, I would try to take a selfie with the killer if I was within the movie and I think that it's not something happening for real. I would try to get a selfie with the killer, so I would probably then die. But you do wonder, if you're inside of a movie, what would you do differently than the others? Would you try to trap the killer in a certain kind of way? So I liked that they tried to trap the killer. They did things that people don't do in movies, and I liked how they did that in the movie. I have lots to say, but my brain's just gone today for some reason. I don't know.
Our brains have been gone for the past 5 years.
You're in good company. But well, thank you, Ginny. Is anything else? Nathan, any other thoughts?
No, I think I summed them up.
Well, before we get on to background, obviously the film ends, and obviously we talk. It's kind of, it has that kind of that ending where it teases a sequel, doesn't it? Which is, and of course, it being a slasher movie homage, the action moves to a hospital, so into kind of Halloween 2 territory, which of course makes perfect sense. So, spoiler alert, and obviously, if you have not seen the movie, please go and watch it before listening to the rest of this. But it kind of shifts to the end where the kind of surviving characters wake up and realise that everyone has survived, and they're all in hospital. And they think they've kind of survived everything, and then the killer comes bursting through, and then it's basically the sequel is starting, but the sequel never happened, unfortunately. So Nathan, what would you have seen in the sequel? What would you have liked to have seen?
Oh, it would have been a hospital slasher. Like, I would have totally had like the hospital staff and patients and everything getting stalked by the killer. Although this hospital probably had a lot more people in it, so it might have been a little bit more difficult. Because, Halloween 2, they had the skeleton crew working that night. So, yeah, I guess that I would probably have it, set in the hospital. But I don't know exactly how I would get around having a full hospital getting stalked by this killer who is very obvious.
Well, we could put a white coat on, like a doctor with his tiki mask. He'd be all right, wouldn't he? He'd sort of slip by.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that would be good. I was thinking, he could dress like the killer in The Last Slumber Party. That would blend in really well.
What's put a surgical mask over the tiki mask?
Yeah, and he'd look like he's, just part of the staff.
I think it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, whenever you see a hospital in a slasher movie or horror movie, it usually tends to be deserted. And when Halloween 2 is infamous for being the most deserted hospital on Halloween night, probably ever,
Yes.
which is a bit ridiculous. But in some ways, it'd actually be quite almost scary, wouldn't it? If you had a full hospital of people rushing around, but you still were being chased by a killer, but somehow no one else noticed or something. I don't know. But I think it would be interesting if that would be fun, how they would support a whole feature doing that. They did it in Cold Prey 2, didn't they? So they managed with that.
At least in Cold Prey 2, they did come up with the excuse that the hospital was actually closing down.
Yeah. So Ginny, do you have any ideas for a sequel?
I like it perfectly. I actually thought of Cold Prey 2 during all that. I think the hospital is the perfect setting. I think they need to have another horror set in the hospital. We need it.
Yes, definitely. Well, actually, funnily enough, I can't say, I did get a preview screening of a movie called Bad Connection, which is by a friend of the show, Jake Helgren, who I've known for many years, and he's done quite a few slash movies over the years. Sort of Bloody Homecoming, Varsity Blood, and quite a number of movies. And he's just done a new slasher movie, which actually the last third of it is in a hospital and is a kind of tribute to Halloween 2, definitely. So I'll be reviewing
thanks for
that.
sharing that with us, Jake. We're chopped meat over here.
Well, you asked me because I've reviewed it.
I've been your friend for years too. So is Nathan and Erik. Come on, buddy.
Well, I'm sure when it's out, because it's not actually out yet. He's because he asked if I could review it on Hysteria Lives, so I have done, but I've got an embargo until October the 1st on it. So I'm sure you won't mind me sharing that little tidbit with you. But yes, if you're hunkering for some more hospital slasher action, then that would be worth a look. So that's Bad Connection, which will be out to streaming in the United States and probably everywhere else in time for Halloween, so the beginning of October.
Jake, man, he has just taken over Lifetime Network with all those movies. I mean, he's done like 100 of those things. How does he stay so busy?
It's amazing, and it is kind of, he's got a real affinity. I mean, I said to Jake, I mean, I remember he wrote to me. I mean, he must have been, I don't know, he was quite young, and he's obviously a fan of slash movies. And he sent me his first movie, Severed Lives, which he directed probably when, I don't know, he was 15 or 16 or something. So yeah, it's amazing somebody's gone from that kind of love of the slash movie and the genre to go on to successful career in those kind of sort of medium budget sort of streaming movies. It's kind of, which of course is arguably the future of watching films. So.
You know what I love about Jake's movies too is like a lot of those Christmas like romantic things he's been doing on Lifetime. Like if you look at the cast list, you'll always see someone in there. Like, oh my God, Jake got that person in his movie. That's so cool.
Yeah. So well, I'll talk a bit more about that when I'm able. But what do we? I mean, let's. Joseph, did you have any ideas of sequels? I can't remember where we got to now, but.
I like Nathan's idea in the hospital. I could one up that a little bit and have like an orderly character who like doesn't do his job and he's like watching a TV. He's watching one of those movies. So the idea is to kind of maybe use some anesthesia on the killer and send him back into the movie that way. I don't know.
Well, it's a shame it didn't get a sequel, but I think it didn't. It's funny. I think with slash movies, or any kind of movie, really, it depends kind of when it gets released. Sometimes there's a kind of sweet spot, isn't there, of a film of any genre, because when you start making a film, it's usually, I don't know, sort of 10, 12, 18 months or something from beginning of filming to release, sometimes quicker, certainly on streaming movies be quicker. But, trying to capture lightning in a bottle, and when the film came out, it wasn't that successful, unfortunately. For whatever reason, it didn't capture the imagination of the public. It just didn't get a sequel because it wasn't that popular, unfortunately, which is a real shame.
Yeah.
So, shall we talk about some background then? So, Ginny, do you have any thoughts or any background for us?
I got some fun ones. I remember Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Manhattan, and Tamara, the one who had the assignment where she drew on her body and tried to seduce the principal. Y'all remember her?
Oh, yes.
That is the mother of the boyfriend in this movie.
Really? Really?
Yes.
I didn't know. I didn't recognize her. Wow.
Yeah, so that's his mother. And he also, coincidentally, in the same year, started a movie called The Final Girl. So imagine promoting that one. The guys who wrote the film, one of them was Josh Miller, and his father, y'all talked about The Exorcist earlier, his father was in The Exorcist. So it was kind of like if he was able to go into his father's movie, see his father, stuff like that. The movie was written by him and his partner. They've been writing, throughout the years, and this is the first one that was like a big hit with the guys. I had something else to say. It was the big song, Betty Davis Eyes. It was supposed to be, they wanted it to be like a prayer. And they wrote a letter to Madonna, and Madonna said, no, I don't know her verbatim answer, but she's like, I just don't see it for the movie. And they said that you can use any other song, but you can't use that. And they chose Betty Davis Eyes instead. So I remember that for background.
I think Betty Davis Eyes fits better.
I do, and also I imagine that like a Madonna song would probably cost an absolute fortune, wouldn't it, to license?
Yeah.
So that may have been part of the reason. But yeah, no, interesting background, Ginny. So thank you. And Nathan, how about you?
No.
Thank you, Nathan. So, and Joseph, did you want to wait to see what I had before you chime in to say I've said everything you were about to say?
No, let me read this real quick. Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Well, just to add, I thought that was really interesting about Joshua John Miller because, and he was actually he was a child actor. He was actually in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and also he appeared in Near Dark, the Catherine Bigelow vampire movie. And it was I saw in an interview with him, and he sort of said he was saying about how part of the reason the film was inspired was his relationship with his dad, and obviously he played Father Damien Harris in The Exorcist. And when he passed away, he sort of said like the fantasy of being able to meet with a deceased parent again, which kind of inspired that whole central concept of The Final Girls, with the mother meeting her. The daughter meeting her deceased mother in the movie she starred in 20 years before. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The thing, as I mentioned, it was kind of floating around as an idea for a script or as a script from 2007, and apparently did get picked up a few times or optioned. But it was Sony Studios, I think, who said that they would only fund it if it was cut, as in if it was made to be a PG-13. So it does appear that it was actually meant to be, originally, was going to be an R-rated kind of comedy. So that would have been interesting to see how that was. Although, again, I don't miss that. I'm like you, Joseph. I'm in it for the scares and the chases and the fun. And I love some gory special effects, but the nudity and stuff doesn't bother me if that's missing. So
yeah, I enjoyed that stuff when I was a teenager. I'm in my 40s now. It's been there, done that.
Yeah, fair enough. So, the principal photography took place sort of in the sort of spring of 2014 on the budget of 4.5 million, which isn't, it's not a massive budget, but it's certainly a kind of a healthy budget, and it kind of looks like it. And it was shot around Baton Rouge and St. Francisville in Louisiana, with some probably the end shots picked up in Los Angeles. So it got really good reviews at the time. But it just wasn't a hit with audiences, unfortunately. So we didn't get a sequel, which is a shame. But at least we have this film for posterity.
Indeed.
Yes, I know. It surprised me actually with some of the feedback on this movie, because I didn't expect it to get kind of unanimous acclaim, but it got some vitriol as well. Joseph, do you want to tell us what the listeners thought of this movie?
Brace yourselves. 54 comments for The Final Girls across our socials. That's impressive. Right. So a lot to sift through, all varying opinions. On Facebook, Christy Valenti writes, "It's like a young adult slasher, there it is. But that is what I love about it. Perfect gateway for younger people. It's really lovely that Joshua John Miller of River's Edge, Near Dark, and etc. grew up and wrote such a sweet movie in honor of his father." So yeah, there's that background. From Instagram, Robert Medlock fumes, and he fumes. "Dreadful film that does not represent slasher films of the 80s. It is an insult to them. About as funny as constipation. Scary movie is a masterpiece compared to this drivel. 0 out of 10, and that's generous." And he used double exclamation points, so he's pretty upset about it. And over on YouTube, Be Kind Rewind says, "Love it, but it's not as good as it could have been. I wish it were R-rated and really leaned into the idea of taking place in a low-budget camp slasher. Ideally, Camp Bloodbath would have been released in 1981 instead of 1986. The deaths would be more creative and gory, and there would be gratuitous nudity. I appreciate the film for what it's trying to do, but I think the PG-13 rating hurt it, not to mention a director who didn't really understand the assignment." Follow us on Facebook and Instagram to know what we're doing ahead of time. Listen on all podcatchers, both good and terrible. Though for purely selfish reasons, please consider our YouTube and Patreon feeds so we can raise the money to bust Erik out of that Portuguese prison cell.
Whether he wants to or not.
Yeah, although is that selfish? I was thinking more like silly, but hey-ho. We have over 200 plus bonus episodes, commentaries, quizzes, top threes on Patreon. We've done it all. That's patreon.com/The Hysteria Continues, and you can drop us a line at The Hysteria Continues, all one word, at gmail.com. And before I turn this over to you, Justin, a huge shout out to the rash of new subscribers to our YouTube channel. I'm not really sure what exactly is going on over there right now, but that ticker has been buzzing the last month. So thank you very much for joining our YouTube channel, everyone.
It's funny. It coincides with Erik not being on the show, doesn't it? So, not that I'd obviously make that comparison, but talking of Erik, he did manage to smuggle some of his jokes out of the prison, probably because I didn't want them in there. So from a Portuguese cell somewhere, a hot and sweaty Erik has sent us this.
It's my joke of the week. It's so bright and fantastic.
What do you get if you leave the soundtrack to this film out in the sun? The vinyl curls. The vinyl curls.
Oh.
Because it's in the sun.
I got it.
It melts a bit and it curls.
That's pretty good, actually.
Vinyl. Curls?
So I think one margarita too many.
Yeah, I liked it. I did.
Yes, I think one sex on the beach too many for Erik there, I think. But so he has. He send another one in for our next show as well. So if you're missing a little bit of Erik, we take a little bit with him, of him with us. So
he will be back.
Yeah, he'll be back. So I guess all it remains is to talk about what we're covering next time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's Erik's pick. This may not be correct, but I think he chose Hatchet 2. But if that's wrong, just join us on our socials and you'll know before the general listening audience.
So we're not, because we've got another one we're recording next. Is that coming out after Hatchet 2?
Oh my God, I'm confused. Okay, so this is Nathan's pick. So you're going to, you announce what's next, Justin. Sorry. Hatchet 2 is after the next episode. My bad. So now you do know. Well, it's way in advance.
It's like the Final Girls, isn't it? It's kind of time travel.
Yeah,
we're kind of on some kind of strange loop. But we are going to be we're doing a crossover show.
Yes.
With Made for TV Mayhem, the wonderful Amanda Reyes and Dan Budnick, and also someone called Nathan Johnson.
He's going to be on there?
He's going to show up as well.
Yes.
Wow.
You should do this thing where you kind of like, sometimes in the movies, like the end of the initiation with the twin sister, you should talk to yourself, but have two voices going on.
It really is a shame that we couldn't have Erik and make it a full crossover, but yeah, I think it should be an interesting episode.
Yes, but Erik will be back for Hatchet 2 because that's his pick. But yes, we're joined doing a crossover, and of course that means we're going to be doing a TV slasher movie from the early 80s. So we're going to be covering Fantasies, which has a wonderful synopsis of someone bumping off soap star actors and actresses on a daytime soap. So obviously with Amanda and Dan, and of course Nathan, experts in the TV movie, and also Nathan, myself, and Joseph, experts in inverted commas on the slasher movie. And of course, Amanda is the next one on the slasher movie. Anyway, it's going to be a big love-in and a really fun crossover. So, yeah, catch us next time for Fantasies. So, anything else you'd like to say, Jeannie, before we go? Thank you ever so much for coming on the show. It's been wonderful as always.
I thought my daughter might want to say something about Final Girls. Did you like the movie?
Yeah.
Do you know you had the guys with the Hysteria Continues on right there?
Yeah.
What'd you think of Friday 13th Part 4?
I liked it. They killed 12 people.
Excellent. You're bringing it up right.
Excellent.
Excellent.
She kept saying, I want to be on this episode somehow. And I was like, I don't know. Just come in and talk about Friday 13th Part 4. And
You're both welcome back anytime.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. I love you guys.
Thank you. I love you too. So, and what are we playing out with?
We're going to play out with Betty Davis eyes.
Of course. So, okay. Well, we'll catch you next time on Hysteria Continues. So thank you for listening. And say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
She's got